Hey, it's the odd man. For the last year or so, I've been working in my backyard building a pond, and I thought I would update you on the process and the progress. I'm starting a big project. I built the greenhouse and the patio. The third part of this plan for the backyard is to put in a pond. So I had this extension cord, laid it out how I think the pond should be. I've got the water and electrical and so forth coming in here. This area would be the deep spot. This area around here is a 2-foot deep shelf for water lilies primarily. And this other outside area is a 1-foot deep area. The plan is that the pond will be bluegill and crawdad and native plants. I'm going to dig this main area out to 4.5 feet, and then the bottom 6 inches will be drain pipe and river gravel, river rock as a biological filter. So that's the plan. Well, it's time for the groundbreaking. I've raked all the chips off the top of that little hump, and it's going to have to come out this way and down around here somewhere, I suspect. Okay, another couple hours of progress. You can see the tailings pile is getting huge. The deep part still needs to go down another 1.5 feet or so, but I couldn't get out of it, so I had to go ahead and build the steps in. I'm into it about 6 hours of digging at this point. I'm not as far along as it looks because I'm going to have to take down the far edge. Looks like probably 3 or 4 inches. So there's quite a bit of work there too. All right, there we go. Another couple hours and the major excavation is done. Still need to level the edges. I've got a huge amount of tailings that are probably half of it's going to have to be moved again. So I dug the far side down several inches so that it's relatively level all the way around the rim of the pond. I'll do the final leveling after I fill it with water and use the water for the edge height, of course. Now I'm smoothing this to accept the liner. and checking for roots and that sort of thing that might be, roots and rocks that might be detrimental to the life of the liner. Okay, I've smoothed it all down. I've pulled out any roots except for these little soft ones that I found. There were several down below. It's all smoothed, cleaned out. I think it's ready to go. This is the test fit for the under gravel biofiltration system. These pipes are perforated. The pump will sit in the box, draw the water through about 6 inches of gravel. Looks like I have room. I think I'll buy one more T and another cap and add a third pipe. I've got some extras I can use. So I finished the plumbing for the biofiltration system. Hauled in a bunch of rocks, most of which are probably going to be inappropriate, but they were cheap. Oh, there's three. These three little bucks were getting gravel. So I think I'm ready to put down the underlayment and the liner and start filling it. So this is the underlayment to protect the liner. The liner weighs 150 pounds, so it's going to be pretty awkward. The liner was nice in the sense that it allows a guy to figure out where the corners are going to be, and which should make putting the liner in a little easier. But you can see one of the downsides of a liner instead of a concrete pool or whatever is all the wrinkles in the corners. Ouch. Okay, well, I think that's good enough for now. I've got the bottom pretty flat, and I'll keep working wrinkles and stuff out of it as I go along. Hopefully make it a little better. But all those wrinkles are sort of a feature of the landscape, you know. All right, I've buried the drain pipe in there that's going to be the biological filter. All that gravel acts as a biological filter. But it's in there. Obviously you can't see much now, but it's time to start filling again. Well, as you can see, I've done a little bit of work out here. Using this rubble for all the rock work, primarily because it was really inexpensive. It was, all the rock you see here was like 50 bucks. All this flat stuff here, bought at a rock shop, was $140. So by using the rubble, it's costing me hundreds rather than thousands. I think it's going to look okay. I'm not 100% pleased with it, but I think it'll be fine. You can see I went to Silver Lake and installed a few plants. I got 4 pots of water lilies and 1 of marginal plants. I was quite pleased with the water clarity. It took several days after the initial installation for it to clear up. And just one day after I installed all these plants, you can see I put the drain rock in the pots to help keep the sediment in place. You can see that I have the flat spot around the rim, and then behind that I've run the liner up a little bit. What I'm hoping to do is get the water deep enough that it can cover the liner where it sticks out along here. I'd like to get the water level up to the rocks. Hopefully that'll make the liner just a little less apparent. So I dug out a little bit of area here for the bog plants. This will always be wet because the pond will overflow into it. And then if the pond becomes over full, there'll be an outfall over here. The reality is I really don't know what plants to plant here. So I'll just end up over the course of a couple years digging up plants that I find out in the woods and seeing what lives. So I see this as a long-term project. Okay, I've got all the edges built up to a level that I hope is adequate. And I'm not sure where it's going to overflow. Eventually I'll need to adjust this end so it overflows right here. Another incremental improvement with the addition of the cattails. But the water has gone a little green and a little cloudy. And it happened all of a sudden. I don't know if the aquatic plant fertilizer I included in all those bins, in all those little buckets, finally dissolved and over nutrified the water, or if there was some other cause. I hauled in a bunch of drain rock, river rock, primarily because I wanted to build up around the back of these containers that have the marginal plants in it and separate the pond from the bog area. All right, here's a quick update on the pond. I finished bringing in the aquatic plants this morning. I still have some bog plants to find, and all the exterior landscaping to do, obviously. And I have a clarity problem that I think resulted from too much plant fertilizer. Other than that, I'm liking it. I had to tear out the raspberries and move my poor old rhubarb. I split it too, so hopefully it survives. But that gives me room to spread this pile out quite a lot more. Make it less of a hump and more of a landscape feature. How's this looking? I'm liking it. I plan to put some tall grasses through here. In preparation, I've put some well-done compost here and some almost well-done compost up there. This is what it's looking like after I finished the grading and laid down first layer of compost and chips. This is September 20th or so. Okay, so I just got done going down to the local levee and digging up some spirea. And a little one over here. Some of them may not do well. I had a hard time with the roots. They were tough to dig up. So we'll see next spring. And I also dug up a whole bunch of these little bunch grasses. A bunch of bunches, I guess. So the place is looking pretty good, but it looks new, right? So I wanted to get a bunch of moss growing. So while I was down at the levee, I dug up a bunch of moss, and the moss is growing in sand down there. So I have this mix of sand and moss. And one of my kids said, oh, mix it with beer and it just grows great. So I bought a case of Budweiser, and except for the one that I set aside for my own use, I'm making a slurry of sand and moss and Budweiser. In a way, that's kind of sad, isn't it? Well, it looks ugly and dirty now, but I'm gonna just leave it instead of washing it off. We have heavy winter rains here, and with any luck it'll wash the dirt down and get the moss cooking. Be cool. So I'm done for the winter. This is what it looks like in the fall of 2023. The rocks are all covered with mud and goop. Plants are overtaking the pond. I've got a bunch of plants in, but still need lots more landscaping for the grounds. Temperature of the pond is still almost 60 degrees. Be a while before I shut it off. I caught 3 little bluegill. And 4 big crawdads. These are the native signal crayfish. It's late November, and the pond is frozen over this morning. It got down to 26 last night. It's been a couple of days since it snowed. It's 22 degrees now. Hasn't been above freezing since it snowed. It got down to like 12 degrees last night. So the pond's frozen pretty hard, but you can see the temperature at the bottom of the pond is still 39 degrees. I'm being kind of careful because I don't really know where the edge of the water is. And I don't want to just break it for fear that sharp ice might puncture the liner. So I'm just going to try drilling. The edge is pretty clean down there. Looks like about 2 or 2 1/8 inches thick. So here's the status of the pond early September 2024. It's had all of spring and summer to grow. I went to a large native plant sale and bought a whole bunch of things. All of the plants I bought at the native plant sale have lived, and in fact are thriving. And all the plants I dug up locally have been thriving as well. I'm quite pleased with that. As for the pond itself, the plants don't seem as robust this year. The leaves on the water lilies are smaller. The arrowhead plants, a little bit, haven't grown as much. But I also had a problem because I never could get the water clear. So I completely scooped out all the gravel in the bottom and replaced it and a ton more additional small pea gravel in there to increase the size of the biofiltration area. As you can see, the water clarity is fine now. I still have occasional issues with that filamentous green algae. But overall, I'm quite pleased with it. It's been pretty entertaining. I'm currently feeding the fish about 1 handful of fish food a week. I bought an automated feeder, but it feeds too much food. One of the fun things about feeding the fish is this is the only time you ever see the catfish. Thanks for watching. This is the Odd Man, out.